Good morning, everyone. This is Alex from Walls.io. Thank you so much for joining my session today. I hope you're having a great time at CNX this year. I certainly am. I'm very happy to be here and share a few practical ideas on how you can extend the shelf life of your event content. I'm also going to be sharing a few tips and tricks on how you can create sustainable content for your events. So let's start with the basics. When we talk about sustainability in our daily lives, we often hear about the three R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. They are usually applied to sustainable living as they help us cut down on the amount of waste we have to dispose of. But, and hear me out, what happens if we apply the three R's to event content? Let's take the original definitions of them and change the context. So, reducing the amount of waste you produce turns into reducing the amount of content you produce. Reusing items as much as you can before replacing them transforms into reusing, or better said, republishing content as much as you can before creating more. And finally, recycling items whenever possible means repurposing content to serve multiple platforms whenever possible. So, all in all, sustainable storytelling isn't just about reusing existing content, it's about transforming it to serve multiple platforms and audiences. But why would we bother with that in the first place? So there are obviously, as is to any good idea, a few benefits. Repurposing your content enables you to extend the reach and impact of your events, which ultimately means more leads, more brand visibility, improved audience engagement over time, and less work. I feel like we content marketers and event professionals have this issue in mind every time we get to work. Creating content is resource intensive. It requires time, effort, creativity, and often a substantial financial investment. And if we already work so hard on creating scripts, handouts, presentations, if we are doing our best to deliver a meaningful panel discussion or run a fabulous user generated content campaign, why would it all have a single use lifespan? It doesn't really make sense if you ask me. So, especially when we can use all that to maximize the return of investment of our events, keep post-event content strategy game on point, expand reach, and make your event content more accessible to the wider audiences. So, repurposing event content is really about maximizing its value. If you can take one speech or one discussion and turn it into multiple different pieces of content that you can reuse over time, well, congratulations, you're officially hit the jackpot. Now, let's see how we can do just that. And of course, all the work starts at the very beginning, but don't get scared at this one. First and foremost, sustainable content starts with some good planning. I bet it's not a surprise to anyone. But it means that your best bet in extending the shelf life of your event content is to create it with the reuse idea already in mind. You've got to make sure that the book fits the shelf in the first place. What it means? That means on the planning stages of your event, get together with your marketing team to outline what content formats you're about to target, the topics that resonate most, and so on. And secondly, and this idea comes from content marketing and also my wonderful colleague at Walls.io, Make sure that the content you create for your event is well structured, adaptable, and is easy to discover. That way, you'll make sure the content you create is sustainable and efficient in the long run. Now, let's move on to some practical ideas on how you can reuse the content your team produced during an event. I'm going to split the ideas by the type of content, and I think it comes as no surprise that I'm starting with video. Right now, video is the king of content, especially short form, authentic, sort of lo-fi videos. I've recently interviewed a video expert with over 30 years experience of work at the TV industry, and now he's a founder of a video automation platform. So he's talking business. And one of my favorite insights from our talk was that the best way to leverage video as an event professional is to think of it in terms of episodic, multiple short form videos. And honestly, most importantly, stop agonizing about it being polished and perfect. What I mean to say is if you reuse your video content for event content, sorry, for videos, don't lose the momentum. Don't don't lose the precious momentum on trying to make it look perfect, because in the end of the day, people are going to consume it just like they do video and move on with their lives. You wanna you wanna catch that. So the first thing you can do that is pretty easy and simple and won't require a lot of effort is produce speaker clips, meaning extracting individual talks or segments and sharing them as standalone videos. I bet you already, during the event, you're already recording some of your speakers' presentations, so that should be no bother. Also, you can make it a series if you'd like and just continue posting them, for example, on your social media. Second idea around video would be creating highlight reels. I mean, if you're on socials, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, create short videos summarizing the event key moments. Little trick here: show the happy crowd, make it look authentic. Do your best editing job to create FOMO, or just give the camera to the attendees and let them walk around and share the positive experience that they have, and then use that. Next repurposing format would be interactive content. Now that's where it gets really interesting. Although I think videos are also very interesting. Here for interactive content, you can create quizzes based on the event content to engage your audience. To engage your audience, yeah. Let's stay there. Or what you can also do, you can turn your speakers' presentations into interactive PDFs. They are kind of like scavenger hunts where people have to click through them to get more information. And that's a bit exciting, isn't it? Of course, I can't forget about blog content because, yeah, blog content is like one of the pillars of marketing. But what can we do? What can we publish that would be interesting to read, especially after the event has ended? You can, for example, convert the Q&A sessions with your speakers into written interviews. I feel like Q&As often get overlooked because they're not essentially the main part of content you because they're not essentially, I'm sorry, the main part of the content you create. But they're still very insightful and authentic. And if you had a good Q&A session, you can really work with it for a blog post. Another idea would be producing a detailed article summarizing the event, where you include key takeaways, best moments, So basically, an event recap. You'll get bonus points for making the event a bit more accessible for people who couldn't join you this time. Sorry, totally forgot to put that on on the slides. But anyway, moving on. But last but not least, let's talk about social media content. There are tons of ideas for socials, but I'd like to highlight two of them. First would be the quote graphics, where you basically turn memorable quotes from your speakers into shareable visual content. That is a great way to engage your speakers after the event and also spark conversations in the comments. And of course, as a Walls.io girly, I can't overlook user generated content. Now, user generated content is one of the best types to reuse after the event because it contains social proof of your whole ordeal being a success. The key to collecting user generated content like a boss is setting up an event hashtag. I can't stress enough how important it is, not only for your social media campaigns, but also for attendee engagement. Because hashtags tie all the online conversations together. They make it easy for your attendees to find information about your event, to find each other, but most importantly, for you to find them and what they talk about around your event. Golden rule for a hashtag or a perfect hashtag formula is to make it super simple, make it unique, and to test it out, you can just conduct a simple Twitter, or as it's called now, X search. Simply search for your ideal hashtag on Twitter and see if anybody is already using it. Um, mm, Thirdly, make it catchy if you can, so people don't have hard time remembering it when they want to post on social media and like, oh, what was the hashtag? It was 12 words. But then if you do something catchy, uh, make sure to show your hashtag to your dirty mind because you don't want your campaign to go viral for all the wrong reasons. And last but not least, to track all the hashtag marked content, you can use a content aggregation platform or a social wall, like the one I have on the picture. Social walls will also help you showcase user-generated content in a unified feed and displayed pretty much anywhere you want it to be displayed. Could be live screens at the venue, could be your event app or your event website or the event platform that you're using. We're also using Social Wall for CNX. So after this session is finished, don't go now. Wait until until the end. But yeah, after the session is finished, feel free to go and check it out at the CNX and leave some content on the wall as well. For content reusing purpose, you can compile attendee posts and photos into a social media album or feature it as testimonials on your website or use it as your social media content for weeks to come. The more positive user-generated content you help create during an event, the better. So these were a few ideas on how you can reuse your event content. I hope they inspired you to get creative and have fun with what I believe really is a gold mine of content that you already have. I'll share one last secret with you, and it is that to prepare for this talk, I repurposed the contents of the Walls.io's Event Professional Toolkit. So if you'd like to discover more ideas, you can download the complete list of 20 content repurposing ideas from it, and many other helpful guides with a link in the comments. I promise it's free. Thank you so much for joining my session. I hope you have a wonderful time at the CNX. Make sure to post on the CNX social wall. And if you have any questions about social walls or content, or if you have any questions about this session, make sure to scan this QR code and reach out to our team. We'd be happy to answer anything you might need help with. My last three words of advice would be plan ahead, stay sustainable, and have fun. Bye.